A human rights group is slamming Nigerian military commanders. Amnesty International alleges top Nigerian officers had at least 4 hours warning before Islamic militants abducted hundreds of girls from a boarding school but failed to adequately protect them. U.S. military advisors are now on the ground. They're trying to help find the girls, but there's growing concern about how well armed the terrorists might be. Our Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr is looking into all of this for us. What are you picking up, Barbara?
Well, Wolf, the U.S. is trying to manage expectations about what the U.S. military might be able to do in Nigeria and trying to get the Nigerians to step up to the plate. The names of the missing schoolgirls go up for all to see.
There's no question that we're racing against the clock here. They've been gone for a long time.
3 weeks after the kidnapping of more than 200 Nigerian girls, U.S. military advisors are on the ground, being joined by FBI and other personnel. The Obama administration insists it's been pressing the Nigerians to act.
We had made repeated offers of assistance, and it was only just this week when the Nigerians accepted the offer of this coordination cell. And within 48 hours, people were moving.
U.S. officials caution they are only offering advice. The Nigerian military will have to conduct any rescue mission. A rescue mission that may encounter Boko Haram militants armed with Libyan machine guns, rocket-propelled grenades, and other weapons grabbed hundreds of miles away in Libya after the fall of Muammar Gaddafi.
Boko Haram may have got hold of surface-to-air missiles, including SA-7 missiles. There's significant concern about that. Not absolute proof that they've obtained these, but significant concern.
Now, a claim from Amnesty International that Nigerian security forces were aware of a planned attack on the school 4 hours before it happened, but failed to deploy enough troops. Nigerian security forces knew about Boko Haram's impending raid, but failed to take the immediate action needed to stop it, the group said in a statement. Now, the Nigerian government is adamantly denying that it had any advance warning, knowledge, or information about the impending attack on the school. The U.S. is talking to the Nigerians behind the scenes about sharing satellite imagery and electronic intercepts, but with every day that goes by, these girls are in more jeopardy.
They
Wolf?
certainly are, Barbara. Thank you very much. Let's dig a little bit deeper. The chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Republican Congressman Mike Rogers of Michigan, he's still with us. Also joining us, General Carter Ham. He's the former U.S. commander of the U.S. military's Africa Command, retired right now. General, first to you. What do you make of this Amnesty International report? The Nigerian military had 4 hours advance warning that these Boko Haram terrorists were going to kidnap these schoolgirls, but apparently failed to do anything.
Well, Wolf, it's obviously a very serious allegation, and it is one that the Nigerian government has to take seriously and investigate and answer. But my hope is that in addressing that allegation, it will not distract them from the immediate mission at hand, which is find those girls and get them back to safety.
Because a lot of people are concerned. You worked with the Nigerian military when you ran the Africa Command. Are these guys up to the job in Nigeria? Do they have the will? I think they could do it, but do they have the will, the political leadership to go out there and save these girls?
Well, they haven't yet, obviously, effectively countered Boko Haram. And I think you hit it exactly right. It is a combination of capability and will. President Jonathan yesterday talked about whether this incident would be the beginning of the end of Boko Haram. I hope with all of my heart that that is true, but it is now up to the Nigerians to act and make it so. The mission is large enough that it does require international support, but the Nigerians are primarily responsible for handling this situation.
Because so far, Mr. Chairman, and you know this well, the president of Nigeria, good luck, Jonathan, he hasn't really stepped up to the plate. Maybe he'll change, but so far he has not really done what is necessary.
Well, in this particular instance, I would say yes, but also much before this as well. So he has huge corruption problems. His military is not up to the task. It also has some corruption problems. There has been some U.S. effort to try to counter the professionalism of his troops. But when you look at the home areas of Boko Haram, they have done very little over any period of time to stem the tide and the growth. even with the neighboring Chad, who has been eager to try to push back on Boko Haram, but doesn't have the capability. So this is a multi-nation problem, and it should be an international problem. U.S. should lead this.
How worried are you that some of these schoolgirls may already have been sent out to some of these neighboring countries where Boko Haram has a presence, whether in Niger or Chad or Cameroon, and it's going to complicate their rescue dramatically?
Yeah, and we have information that a lot of that is already happening, that they're selling off some of these girls, they're marrying some of these girls. It is pretty horrific the way these young girls are being treated, and it is likely that a number of them are outside of the country. And remember, this is a group. This is not the first event. In 2012, they blew up in Abuja, the UN headquarters there, killed, I think, 23, wounded 80. They blew up a newspaper organization the following year. After they kidnapped the girls, they slaughtered another 300 people. These are some bad, brutal characters, and they need addressing. And again, they have now connected with Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab, which is a dangerous recipe for all of us.
You had to deal with Boko Haram when you were commander of the Africa Command. You know this group. These are brutal terrorists. What can the U.S. credibly do in Nigeria right now, militarily speaking?
I think there are a couple of roles that are appropriate for the United States. First and foremost is the ongoing activity of not just military, but across the U.S. government, FBI, the intelligence community, and others offering their support to the Nigerians to, again, first find these girls and then help craft a solution. But it is now, as the chairman mentioned, it is now bigger than Nigeria. I do believe that the girls are likely outside of the country. That necessitates a broader regional approach. So Niger, Chad, Cameroon, I think there's a role for the African Union here to help coordinate efforts across the region. This will be very, very complicated in the coming days and weeks to coordinate this effort.
Back in 2012, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chairman, after they blew up that UN facility in Nigeria, you wanted the United States State Department to designate Boko Haram as a terrorist organization, but you got resistance from the State Department. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was still in charge over there. What was their resistance? Why wouldn't they declare Boko Haram a terrorist organization?
Well, there was an internal debate at the State Department, and also Representative Frank Lobiando was a big player in trying to get them designated on the Intelligence Committee. But there was some resistance in the State Department, believing that if you designated them, it gave them status. If you gave them status, they were more likely to gain international terrorist support, both finances and other, and it would create a bigger problem than you had. I didn't believe that. I believe they had well crossed that threshold. They were already at that time working with Al-Qaeda. We saw reaching out to Al-Shabaab as well. And so I believe, and that terrorist designation is important. It allows us to do so many things.
Would it have made a difference if they had accepted your advice today as far as those nearly 300 girls?
Well, it would have allowed us to reconfigure what our policy was to Boko Haram, not only from help from Chad and Cameroon and Niger. We could have, I think, stepped up our ability and help those host nations gain the capability to push back on Boko Haram.
Were you involved in that debate, General Ham, when you were active duty?
I was, Wolf. Obviously, that it was part of the conversation. I was supportive of designation, frankly, because we had seen the violence, the increasingly violent nature of Boko Haram. But there's a practical aspect to this that the chairman refers to, and that is designation brings with it tools, more tools that the U.S. government can use. Not just militarily, in fact, primarily not military, but financial tools and access to banking records and a number of different tools that are effective, have proven effective in countering terrorist organizations.
Because I know the intelligence community, the FBI, the Pentagon, according to you, the Intelligence Committee in the House of Representatives, you all wanted that. The State Department under Hillary Clinton didn't. Is she to blame for that failure to designate Boko Haram a terrorist organization? It only happened last November when John Kerry was already Secretary of State.
Well, let me be clear. As the commander of Africa Command, I was supportive of designation. I didn't then, and certainly do not now, speak for the Department of Defense. I understood the arguments of why designation might not be the right time, or might be right at the time. But to me, it was a matter of practicality. I think they met the category of terrorist organization.
You blame Hillary Clinton?
I'm not sure it's blame. I think it was a terrible decision, and it was a terrible decision based on what we knew at the time, not even what we know now. Again, they had engaged in vehicle IEDs, meaning that those are the most lethal, and they used that in the UN bombing that killed, I think, 23, wounded 80. Then the subsequent killings, they were becoming more violent by the day, and they had this relationship with al-Qaeda. I just didn't think the other argument carried the day at all, and I think, you know, sometimes timidity causes huge problems. This is a serious problem, these 300 girls, but it can't be just about these 300 girls. It has to be about all the women of Northern Africa and the problems that they're causing.
Mike Rogers, thanks very much for coming in. General Ham, thanks for coming in.